Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We have the Fender Jazz Bass neck back on the bench. We're going to sand it down. We've taken all the frets out from the previous video. We're going to sand it down. We mark it, sand it down, and clean up all the fret slots to accept the new frets. Pretty excited about this. Pretty cool job. Let's get to work. So you'll see we have an array of tools out here. So the first thing I'm going to do is knock out the nut. When I'm sanding this, I don't like to keep banging into the nut. It's going to just ruin it anyway. We may reuse the nut, we may not. We don't know yet. Probably at the age of this, and from just judging with my eyeball, it's pretty close. And once we get the new frets in there, it's probably going to be too low. We took out all the old frets. I saved them. A lot of them were divoted, and once I got them out and measured them, once they were out of the neck, yeah, all the way up to here were just divoted to the point where we could have done a partial refret. I don't believe in that. If you're going to pull out some of them, pull them all out and start with brand new ones. You can do a partial leveling. Again, I don't agree with that. I would much rather do the entire job. So first and foremost, we're going to start today with knocking this nut out. Now these usually just need a little bit of a tap. This one's been in there for quite a while. There it goes. Just like that. They pop right out. Like the guy that put it in knew what he was doing. They won't take a lot to stay in there, especially if they're a track. Some, now you'll note, you know that some guitars only have one side in the bottom and there's nothing, no material up here to hold it in, but this one has a full track to hold it in there. So we're going to save that. I'm not sure what kind of material that is. Usually you can tell by bouncing it, but it seems like bone, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't need the chisel anymore or the hammer. You'll notice that I have a neat little tool here. This is to clean out all of the fret slots. This is just a wax, or you can use chalk. All I did was mark the board with X's, so that as the same kind of idea that if you mark it a little bit as you're sanding it, once those are all gone, you've cleaned the board. And mostly what we're after, if the camera will pick up on that, there are a lot of little marks where the frets sat in the slot, and we're going to try to smooth those out. I started a little bit down here sanding it just to make sure that the grip was what I liked. I generally use a 400, and this is a radius block, 9.5, for this particular radius neck. Right there. Yeah, see, I smoothed all this out. You don't want to go too far. You just want to take the marking that we did, and it may lighten up the rosewood a little bit, but that's easy. You just polish it and it comes right back. So unsettling to some who haven't seen it, but this is how we do it. We got them all marked all the way from the lower register to the highest register, and this block matches the radius of the neck, which is 9.5. Don't put a lot of pressure. You can see where it's cutting in, and like I said, it's going to make it look lighter, but that's okay. You can probably get away with a little more aggressive sandpaper. I just don't dig on that too much. I like to kind of use a medium which is what I found is around a 400. Some guys will start at 180, go to a 400, and then even a lesser one after that. But I don't like that. That's not the way I do it. And you see why I take the nut out, because you can't always stop there. And you'll notice through the guitar's life that the center has, just from the age of it, the center is higher than the rest of it. And you'll see how much lighter it is, but that polishes right back up. Not concerned about that. You could do this a lot quicker with a more aggressive sandpaper. I don't dig that. Long, easy strokes. You can see a lot of material comes off. It seems like a lot, but it's not really. And just the faintest of faint little X's left from where we used the wax chalk. It's feeling a lot smoother. Even the places that we didn't touch, that's really smooth. And that's what we're after. You got plenty of fretboard there to work with. And that's why I like to use a softer 400 grit is where I start. And you just keep going until the whole thing looks the same. And sometimes you got to stop in the middle of it and change the paper. You don't know. The radius of this neck has probably changed over time, just from the wood moving. And these are the neat things that I love about wood. You can see here where there's still marks where the guy was fingering on the these notes on the E string, and that's normal. That's just the life of the guitar. That's just the life of the guitar. We're going to bring this back to just like a brand new instrument when we're done with it. I still see a little bit of an X there and there and there, and everything down here right in the middle. Even though it feels really smooth, I'm going to continue to keep taking it down slightly until I feel comfortable with it. This isn't like doing the frets, which we'll get to later, where you have to disappear the line completely. This is just to give you an idea of where the low spots are. This is a low spot. That's a low spot. But that's okay, because the way the hand feels it and the way the radius gauge catches it and the way the radius block cuts it, that's what it is. This can go on for a while. I'm going to pause briefly while I finish this up. We were just as I said it, that the next pass started to take the X's off, these lower register fret. And usually you're going to see a skunk line right in the middle where that just is, you're not going to go all the way down. So let me pause. I'm going to finish sanding this down before we move to the next step, which is going to be cleaning out the slots. And there's a special tool for that. And then we're going to, hopefully in this video, we're actually going to install a few of the frets. That's a long process. Just like removing them, installing them is a pretty long process, and you have to test fit a few of them to see where you're going to go. Sometimes you have to sand or saw out the slots to accept the frets, depending on how much material comes off while you're sanding. So stand by, we'll be right back. Okay, so we're done sanding. There is just the faintest little skunk stripe here, but I'm not going to drive that down. I'm okay with that because I can feel that we are where we need to be. Now, I wanted to demonstrate, you see how light that some spots get over here and over here while you're sanding. I just wanted to demonstrate that. You'll notice on the tail end here, you just take just a little bit of polish, and I'm trying not to get down in the, you don't want to treat the neck at this point because when those frets go in there, they have to stay, but I wanted to demonstrate because this is the most unsettling part of sanding out a piece of wood like this. Is all you do is polish it a little bit of compound, and it comes right back. And I know the camera can see that. So all of this, where some of the character of the wood has come out from sanding it, all that dust that was here, that's what it's going to come back to. And that's all it took, was just a little polish, and it comes right back. And then, of course, once we're completely done, we're going to treat it with linseed oil. But I just wanted to demonstrate that little aspect of it. And don't do that if you're going to try your own fret job. Don't do that because you want to avoid getting anything down in these holes. These slots. Now, the next phase of this is pretty tedious, and you got to be able to see what you're doing, and you don't want to cut the fretboard. You want to cut, all this tool is going to do is pull out all there could be glue, there could be sanding dust from the procedure that we just did. There could be wood left down in there. Anything has to be cleaned out before you attempt to put in the new fret. And I have to be ever so careful on this first one, because that little guy right there, when I pulled the first fret out, because my name is Blackjack, and these things only happen to me, a little chip came out, and I glued that back in. So I'm very mindful of that as I'm dragging this tool across here. I don't want to pull that chip back off. I'm sorry about my bald head. I want to get the first one done so I can show you the mess that comes out of there. So I think the camera can see that. A lot of dirt and gook right there. And I just filled the hole back in, but you have to get all of that out of there. And it is a tedious process because I have to do all the fret slots like that and get them completely clean. Then I have to test fit one of the frets to make sure. And as we go along, we may get to the point where we're putting a fret in as we continue the job and work our way up the neck towards the headstock. One may not fit quite just right, and we have to get the slot saw out and just make sure that we have the right clearance for the fret to pop down in there. So I'm going to continue with this and because this is going to take for a long time. It takes forever. And you have to be careful because this tool is sharp, and if it pops out of that slot and scrapes across your fretboard, that's another little sanding and repair job they have to do. So this is tedious. It takes a long time, and we have to do it. So I wanted to show you up until now where we're at and how this is done. The next video installment is actually going to be, I'm going to install a few frets, and then I'm going to show you how to install them and hopefully get to where we can snip them off and use the next file, which actually puts an edge on them. Okay, and it doesn't end there, because then you have to get down in there and do the fret finishing so that your fingers don't ever feel that fret. All right, so yeah, this is where we go. We're going to get at it. We're going to dig them out. We're going to clean them out. And it's not an easy process. And you got to be really careful when you get to the ends, because that's where chip out is going to try to happen. So digging out of the middle, yeah, that's one thing. But when you get to the end, by the way, as an added bonus, after you do it all this way, I have to turn the whole neck around and do it this way so that I can clean out these edges of the fret slots. So you can see what we're up against. It's not at arts and crafts. It's common sense stuff. If you take your time and go slow, you can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. But it does take a long time. It does take a long time. So all that being said, thanks for coming along. If you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe. I'm Blackjack from 396 Guitars. We're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. If you need any work done, look me up. I have a website, 396guitars.com. We'd love to hear from you. We'll talk soon.